Let our hearts engage, that things would get stirred deep down inside of us. And this is how I've been praying. Past our emotions, past our way of thinking, God would use the word to stir us up deep in the deepest parts of who we are. Why? Because Jesus needs to do that in us in order to fulfill the law through us. Last thing I'll say, and we're moving on. Folks, it's too easy to be politically pro-life, and that's where we stop. I mean, checking a box, that's too easy. Jesus doesn't aim that shallow. Politicians come and go, policies come and go. Listen, he wants us to be a part of something so much deeper. He wants to fulfill the law through us. He wants to transform us. So let's jump in here to James chapter 1, verse 27. Religion that's pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction or their distress, to keep oneself unstained from the world. It's Orphan Sunday. I want to just raise the flag for orphan and orphan care here. And I want to use the word that the Bible uses here. It says to visit widows and orphans. And it's more than just stop by and, bring them a pie or some brownies or something. Like visit. The word there is episkopos. Does anybody recognize an English word that we could, it's in the italics here, episkopos, like episcopal. It's a word that the Bible uses over and over again as an expression of overseeing, to watch over somebody. To watch over somebody. So this is what we're talking about, watching over orphans. So what would it look like if in our lives and in our life collectively as a church family, we together watched over orphans? Well, I don't know what that would look like. Well, let's take our cues from God. How did he watch over orphans? Now, we could have done this from any number of passages in the Bible. I pulled them all from the Psalms. Here's the first one. God allies with them. He makes himself their ally. And when we're saying that, we're not just saying, hey, I'm on your team. I'm wearing your jersey. You and we're in this. No. God steps in and identifies himself with them. Jesus, Matthew 25, if you've done this to the least of these, you've done this to me. Over and over again, we see God allying himself with orphans. And so this is Psalm 68, verse 5. The father of the fatherless and protector of the widows is God in his holy habitation. And don't miss that. He didn't say, hey, I'm going to write a check. I'm going to send a gift to the fatherless. I really care about them. No. He said, I'm stepping into a relationship. I'm putting myself on their side. I'm drawing them to me. I'm going to hold up the umbrella, so to speak, to kind of cover them. I'm allying myself with them. I am the father of the fatherless. You want to know what it's like to be me in my holy habitation? I am the father of the fatherless. I'm allying with God. Advocates for them. Now, all throughout the Bible, we see particular expressions of God saying this. And I'll just give you a couple of examples real quick before we read this particular passage from Psalm 82. But in the law, some of the teachings, those hard parts of the Old Testament where you're trying to read and you're falling asleep because you don't really understand it all. In there's some beautiful stuff. If you own a field, yeah, go harvest the wheat. That's great. Leave some on the outside for the widows and the orphans. And if you do so, God will bless you. You're leave some? Yes, leave some. God will bless you. Don't worry about it. And over and over again, we see God through his law, through the teaching that he left with the people of God, we see that he advocates for orphans. This is Psalm 82, verse 3. Give justice to the weak and the fatherless. He's saying, do this. Give justice to the weak and to the fatherless. Maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute. Give justice to them. He's advocating for them through the law, through the teaching that he leaves with his people. He's saying, hey, don't forget about these. He allies with them, and then he advocates with them, and lastly, God acts on their behalf. And again, there's all sorts of passages where you could look at where God steps in on behalf of particular people, orphans, widows, and so forth. He steps in and he moves on their behalf. This is one particular passage from Psalm 10, verse 17. O Lord, you hear the desire of the afflicted. You will strengthen that's supposed to be heart, that's my typo. You will strengthen their heart. You will incline your ear. Don't miss this. No, so God bends down, he inclines his ear. You incline your ear to do justice to the fatherless and the oppressed. Listen, so that man who is on the earth may strike no more. In other words, God's not going to tolerate evil forever, folks. That's good news for you and for me. God's not going to put up with it forever. He just won't. But right now, he's bending his ear, inclining his ear. Why? To do justice. To do justice for the fatherless and the oppressed. God acts on their behalf. And so before we jump into some very practical things, I just want to ask you this question. For you, for your family, what would it look like for you to ally with them? What would it look like for you to advocate for them? What would it look like for you to act on their behalf? I want to highlight some opportunities here. For us as a church family, this has been in our DNA. We've talked about this every year for years on end now. But our opportunity for obedience and ministry, first of all, and when I say first of all, that's not a throwaway phrase in this moment. First of all, the most important of all is that you and I step into prayer and care. We genuinely pray about these things and for these families who are engaged in this, and we express our care for them. And I would just say, for so many in here, you have already done this. You pray for people. You pray for kids. You step in if a new kiddo comes out of the foster system and into one of our families for however long he or she may be there. And hey, do you need diapers? Do you need formula? Do you need this? Do you need that? How can we help? I got a stroller. I know a friend. Blah, blah, blah. And great, fantastic. We care. That's awesome. Well, let's continue to live that way. We also want to be people who pray. And just this week, we had a couple of families, their kids who had been with them for a while were then placed back into a different family situation. And it's hard on everybody. So here in a minute, Carrie is going to lead us in prayer, in particular for those families. But we commit first of all, we commit to prayer and to care. Secondly, some of you may want to take a step beyond that and say, hey, I want to, kind of get my hands on this. There's babysitting. If you're going to babysit a kiddo who's in the foster care system, you have to be certified. It is not the full thing. It's actually a fairly short process to get certified to babysit. But it is a real gift to have families who have foster kids in our church family to be able to know, hey, here are some people that you can call who are certified to babysit. And again, it doesn't take long, and hopefully soon we'll have an opportunity for some of you to step into that certification process. A third one is what is technically called respite care. If you're not familiar with this, you might call it overnight babysitting. So on occasion, some of the families in our church family who are foster families need to get out, get away, go to a wedding or a funeral or something else. And you can imagine you can't just leave foster children with anybody. They have to be certified as respite care. It's a little bit longer process and a little bit more difficult. There's more stuff, training involved and that kind of thing. But this is a moment where you could step in and do that. Some of our families have experienced kids who are, they're on the more difficult end of things. And so just to provide them an opportunity to step away, to get some perspective, to take a breath, to get some sleep, whatever it may be, respite care is a step that some may need to consider. Fourthly, some of you want to sign up and go ahead and take the step of becoming foster parents, to open your home for a limited time, however long it may be, to a child or children who come into your home and then move out of your home, get placed into different situations. You may need to take that step. God may be calling you to take that step. And I'll just pause here and speak on behalf of many foster families in our church family. Is it hard, is the question that I most often get. What's the answer to that? Oh, God, absolutely it's hard. Absolutely. I mean, there are folks in the room right now who know just how hard it is. And the objection, not the objection, the question comes back like, golly, I don't know. I don't know if I could give full-hearted love to someone and then watch them walk out the door. And my response to that is always, you're the exact person who needs to step into that then. Because you want to give full-hearted love to a kid so that they are, it is, I mean, love, God uses love to transform people. So you want to be, I mean, like that, we don't want the half-hearted lovers. We want people who are all in on this. So yeah, it's hard. Can I ask a question? What in life that is worth it is not hard? The vast majority of things that are of value in life are hard. Foster care is hard. It is. But some of you may be called by God to step into that. And lastly, some of you may be called to step into adoption. Just to say, you know what, not on a temporary basis, but on a permanent basis. We're opening our home, we're opening our family. It will change our family system. Yes, it will. It will. And you will be changed, and that kiddo will be changed. Man, yeah. Some of you need to take that step and open yourself. And again, is it hard? Yes, it's hard. It's hard to wait. It's hard to receive. It's hard to plan. It's hard, but it's worth it. So the second question that I often get is, man, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this. Well, let me just say, you don't have to do it alone. In our church family, multiple families have already stepped into this process in one level or another. And God may very well be taking today to stir you up to step into that process as well. Here, we got a very couple-minute video, just a brief snippet of people who have said yes to this and how some of their lives changed. This is just from our church family. You're not in this alone. Watch this video. Pure and undefiled religion inside of our God and Father is this. Keep oneself unstained from the world, that's true, but to visit, watch over widows and orphans in their distress. These are just some of the people who've stepped into that. You're not alone in this. Built into our DNA is that. As I said earlier, there are families that just this week took kiddos who had been with them and sent them into different family situations, hard on both. And so we wanted to take a moment and just pray for them. Carrie's going to lead us, and then we've got this great hymn about Jesus being the solid rock upon which we stand in all the chaos of our world, personal and otherwise. Got a great place to stand, Jesus, the solid rock. So Carrie's going to lead us in prayer, and then we'll stand together and sing this great old hymn.
Let's pray. God, I thank you for gathering us in this place. Thank you for those gathered at home and how you unite each one of us uniquely. And we can say that we are who we are because of the life that you have given us, the people that you have put in it, and the way that you have shaped us. God, the same can be said for our children who come to us through foster or adoptive care. And you're shaping their story, and you're beginning to form your plan in their life, and they're learning to trust in you. God, I want to thank you specifically for these children who we have launched back into a reality that may seem strange to them, but we know that it's not strange to you. God, I thank you for bringing them into this place. I thank you for the families who bravely answered yes, who welcomed them into their house and into their world. They've introduced them to concepts like love and trust. God, they brought them into a church where we could come alongside them and we could show them your love and we could open your word with them. God, I thank you for the opportunity that you gave us, and I thank you for the boldness to say yes. God, I pray that the seeds that were planted in the lives of these little people, that you would continue to grow those seeds over time, that you would invest in them through the people in their new circumstance who actually love you, God, that they would point these children to you continually. God, I pray for all the days of their lives that they would be able to look around and see the world through a lens that you have provided, one that's filled with love and hope and truth. God, I pray that they would be able to move forward in this world in a way that speaks boldness to the testimony that you have created in their life. God, I thank you again for opportunities. God, I feel like you give us that word and you give us these examples and you show us the people around us that are saying yes in just the right time, in just the right way, that maybe, just maybe, we could be part of that too. God, I thank you that we are a church that says yes. And I thank you for entrusting us with these children. I thank you that we get to know their names and see their faces. And I pray, God, that you would keep that with us forever, that we would be able to invest in their lives and the lives of others just like them. God, unapologetically, let us move from this place, that we would be brave enough to say yes, just yes. God, thank you again for letting us serve and letting us worship. God, I pray for those families who, while they love deeply, they may have a sense of grief, and I pray that you would meet them in that place, that you would restore their strength and give them joy, that they'd be ready when the phone rings again to say yes. God, let us be the church that always says yes and is ready to come alongside them and run this race together. I know it's exhausting, it must be, but they're ready and they're willing. God, I pray that as long as there's opportunity that we would say yes. Amen.
Stand with me as we sing. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sun, but wholly lean on Jesus' name. On Christ the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. All other ground shall come with trumpet sound. Oh, may I then in him be found, dressed in his righteousness alone, faultless to stand before the throne. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand, all other ground is sinking sand. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand, all other ground is sinking sand.
There's a lot of places we could try to stand, but listen, all other ground, not most of the other ground, all other ground is sinking sand. So let's build our lives upon Jesus this week, folks. Let's build our lives upon the hope that he offers. Let's go from here like what we said and what we sung was true. Go live like Jesus is the King, folks. He reigns over everything. You're a family of missionaries commissioned out to that exact thing. God bless you. Have a fantastic week. I'll be just outside these double doors if you'd like to come by and say hey or have a question. I'd love to meet you. You're dismissed. Thanks so much for being here.
On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand, all other ground is sinking sand. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust